skiers, welcome to my basement. I would say that on the ski team, the best way of showing somebody love is to wax their skis for them. And I know all the Olympic skiers, when they retired, they're like, oh man, I had people wax my skis for me and now I have to do it myself. So it's not exactly the most loved activity, but it's kind of expensive to have other people do it for you when you have to pay them at Ski Hut. So I do it myself. I'll show you what I do. So a lot has changed since I learned how to wax back in high school, but it's basically the same principle overall. There's lots of new products on the market that I'm not as familiar with, but I do know that Swix, which is one of the main wax providers, just had to pay a huge, like millions of dollars settlement to the EPA because of the hydrocarbons and the fluorocarbons in their waxes, and they're actually getting into the snow and then they get into the water. And so they've had to change their mixes. So a lot of the waxes I have are now kind of have been grandfathered in, and once I'm done with those, I'll have to go buy the new waxes. Just to show you, I use my Swix waxing guide from 2005. I don't really need to look at it anymore, but these are kind of helpful because it goes through like how to apply the different waxes, and it's really user friendly. And then there's different waxes, like this one I got at Ski Hut. Not terribly expensive, and you'll this will last a couple seasons. And then the waxes have codes on them, like this one is CH6, and so like if you go with actual Swix versions, it'll tell you what temperature that goes for, because you want to re-wax if your temperature really drops or if it really increases, because the wax is going to be no fun if it's got the wrong temperature. What I like about this is it also tells you the temperature to set your iron at. So today I'm waxing my classic skis, which are my skin skis. So I just took painter's tape and put it over the mohair part of the ski. This is if you have fish scales. This is the part of the ski that you don't wax. It's a misnomer that any skis are waxless. You have to wax all cross-country skis. It's just that if you have the fish scales on your skis, it means you don't have to wax that part, which is why they call them waxless. But I think they should just call them fish scales, because you still have to wax the glide part of your ski. So you can see I haven't waxed these in a while, and they get that kind of white look to them, and that's how you know that part is free of wax, and we need to basically add more wax so it'll glide really well. And then this is my setup. I just got this at Ski Hut. It's just this is where one of the skis goes. It locks into here, and then the other ski goes here. So I'm going to set that up. Okay, so I bought this solvent in like, I don't know, 2004, and I still have it. You don't use a lot of it, but it's basically what you use to clean the wax off your skis. And like a lot of waxing stuff, you have to be really careful. I mean, it's a solvent. It's like working with furniture polish or anything like that. You want to have good ventilation, and that's true for waxing in general. This is my ventilation. I'm in the basement, so I do have a fan on. I know that when you get like professional waxers, they actually will wear these full-on gas masks. So that's just something, if you are waxing and you feel like you've been breathing in fumes for a little while, definitely get yourself outside for a little bit, or open a window. Okay, so I got a little solvent on my little ski cloth. You can get these just at the ski shop. They usually are sitting together, and I'm just going to come through and clean off the ski base. You always, anytime you're working with your skis, you go with the grain of the ski. So I'm not going to go up the ski. I only wipe down. That's just good ski care. And then do the same here. And I'm going to do that for both my skis, and then just let them air dry. And that's just going to get off. I don't do this very often. I haven't waxed these skis in quite a while. So you're only going to do that if you really need to clean off the old wax. And then you can sometimes you can kind of see the residue of that on there. Okay, so now we're going to prep the base. So this is my little brush. Again, I think I've had this since probably 1998. So, it's this whole idea of like, you buy this stuff and it lasts forever. And so it's a little bit expensive at the beginning, but it's a lot cheaper than having to pay to get your skis waxed all the time. So you see it has kind of a half and half. There's many different kinds of brushes out there, but it's got the metal bristles down here and kind of more the synthetic bristles up here. So we're going to use this side before you wax. And basically what you're doing is preparing the base of the ski to accept the wax. And you're basically getting rid of like the burnished wax, which is like, stuff that's kind of been pressed on there, and also the oxidized wax. You're basically opening up the pores of the ski so that they can accept new wax, so you can have nice fast skis. So again, I'm only going to brush in the direction that the ski goes, so from the tip to the tail, and I'm just going to go like this, and I'm just going to do that a whole bunch of times. I usually do it about 20 times, and then you'll see kind of that it's releasing some of the wax that was bound up in there even after I used the solvent. So I'm opening up the pores of the ski that way. So I'm gonna brush it all down, and then I'll show you the waxing part. And also just say that you can see waxing is kind of a messy business. Get lots of wax all over my table. I wax the floor to a deadly sheen. So that's something to be mindful of when you're waxing. And that, like at my old house, I used to wax in my garage, and it was helpful to have a ice fisherman, because then I could use the heater, the space heater, so I wouldn't freeze to death. But I'm pretty grateful in this house to have this waxing bench. All right, so now I'm ready to wax. I'm going to use the CH6 today. That's kind of your basic workhorse wax. So if you're looking to buy a wax, that's the one I'd recommend, although the people at the ski shops can help you with that too. It's kind of that middle of the road as far as temperature. It's about 10 to 20, which is, you know, most winter is in that temperature. But yeah, if you do have cold weather, you're going to want to go with a colder wax. It's going to make it more fun. So I'm just going to go with my CH6 here. And then I've got a waxing iron, which I picked up at Continental, I think. And my last one smashed, so I was very sad that I lost my original waxing iron, but it's kind of nice because it has the temperature settings there on the inside, which coincide with the different wax recommendations. Main thing is you always want to err on the side of your wax iron being colder rather than hotter, because you don't want to burn your wax, because that's not going to perform very well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to point my wax, or my iron, towards my ski, and then I'm just going to press the wax onto the face of the iron and melt dots up and down the ski base. And you can kind of tell if your iron is too hot by how fast the wax melts. You want it to drip onto the ski base, but you don't want it to start pouring on, because then what you probably have is burnt wax. So I've just done a little bit. I'll show you what that looks like. So you can see the wax melted on there. So I'm going to work all the way up the ski with those dots of wax, and then I'll show you what to do next. Okay, so now I've got my wax all melted into my ski, and this is the part where I'm going to melt the wax together basically. And again, this is where you don't want to burn the wax or burn the base of your ski. So you want to err on the side of having a cooler iron. And this is where you can work back and forth a little bit, because you're actually working the wax and not the base of the ski itself. So this is where you can see maybe I didn't get quite enough wax in the mid part of the ski, so I'm probably going to go back in and put a few more dots in there. But just starting to melt down the wax, get it all nice on there. And then I'll show you what to do next. Okay, so you can see I've got the wax melted all the way down the length of my ski, but you'll notice it's kind of messy and pooled, because all I've really done at this point is rub it in. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the iron starting at the tip, and I really want to create just that nice smooth finish. So I'm going to keep my iron moving. What I want to see is, you see that little bit of melted kind of contrail almost? I want to move my iron down the ski so that I get that kind of nice smooth finish. I don't want it lumpy like this. So it's kind of hard to do with the phone on, but I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. And also just a couple other thoughts on waxes. You know, so like I said, this is CH6. It's kind of your workhorse wax. It's just going to be your touring wax, your wax for kids, just your everyday kind of wax. I've got a little bin full of all the different kinds. So this is what the ski looks like after I've run the iron down it, you know, kind of smoothed it out, gotten the wax uniformly up and down the ski. Again, moving that iron in one smooth motion all the way down the ski. You don't want the iron to sit on the ski. You don't want it to burn the wax. You don't want it to burn the ski. Back when I was in high school, I definitely saw people who were doing that, and they would just have like clouds of smoke coming up from their iron. That's definitely what you don't want. So if you start seeing smoke coming from your iron, time to turn the heat down and kind of take a step back. So my ski is now waxed and it's ready for scraping. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch over and do my other ski and let the wax have time to cool and kind of set. You don't really want to scrape hot wax. You want to give it a minute to cool and set into the ski. When I bought this house, I knew that the previous owners were also skiers because this is written on the wall there. So yeah, it's a good reminder. Turn off your iron when you're done. This thing is, otherwise it's going to just be burning all that wax off. So I'm just going to turn off my iron. There. Okay, so you see you've got the second ski waxed, that nice smooth surface. So now I'm going to show you some of the scraping tools. So I've got various different kinds. Little cheap ones like this. This one's my favorite because it has the beveled edges as well as the scraper edge. Plus it's kind of a cool color. And then this is my other scraping tool that I use for the sides and middle of the ski. So I'll show you how to use those. Okay, so hopefully you're not feeling totally overwhelmed yet. And I guess I'll just pause and say this. So like I'm my family's wax technician, right? I got 4 people that I wax skis for. We each have 2 or more pairs of skis. And so that adds up to a lot of waxing that you're doing. So yeah, you can totally bring your skis to Ski Hut and get all those skis waxed. But you know, at 25 to 30 bucks a pop, that adds up a lot. So if you do a little outlay, you know, and get your waxing equipment, you know, once you've laid that down, it's a lot cheaper to just wax your skis yourself. And it's totally something that's possible and doable. And I guess what I like to do is turn on some outdoor podcasts and dream about when I'm going to get outside on my skis. Okay, so when scraping your skis, the main thing is you don't want to scratch the base of your ski with any of your scraping equipment. It does happen, but you know, just try to take care not to. Okay, so you'll see you've got this edge here, same kind of deal here, and basically you're going to use this to just scrape off the wax that's kind of melted over down the side of your skis. So that's how I always start every waxing endeavor, is just getting that stuff off, and it might take several tries of that, getting that off. And then once you've got the sides all scraped down and you know you've got that nice kind of clean edge, kind of like that, then you know you've got the sides nice and scraped, and you know after a while no wax is going to come off there too. And then you've got these 2 ends. This is kind of the narrower end and this one's the bigger end. And this, you just got to be careful to not go shooting off and like gouge the wax out, and it does happen. And then you're going to do the same thing here and work out the wax down the middle of your ski. And there, you can see I did that, so it happens. Probably partly because I'm holding the phone. And again, this is where you don't want to ever scrape up the ski. I'm always going to scrape in the direction of the ski from tip to tail. So I'm going to start by cleaning off the edges, and then I'll show you how to wax the base of the ski. Time to scrape, woohoo! This is the hard part. Well, I guess it's, or not the hard so much as just the really tedious part. So this is where you're going to come through. It's really hard to do with one hand. So you're going to start scraping down your ski. So you can use this edge, you can use the beveled edge in here, you can use this edge, whatever works. You're going to have to scrape all the wax off. And you're going to have to scrape and scrape and scrape and scrape. And the main thing is to not press so hard that you're biting into the base of the ski, but also not so soft that no wax is coming off. I'm still scraping, but I'm getting to the point where I can finish, because when I'm running my scraper along, see, I'm not picking up much at this point. So now I'm going to get ready to finish my ski off, and then it'll be done. One thing I forgot to add is if you aren't going to use the solvent to clean your ski, which again I only do maybe once or twice a season, when you're getting ready to wax your skis again, which I recommend doing regularly once the wax wears out. It's just going to make your skis more fun. They're going to glide more. You're going to have better time on the downhills and just generally feel like you're floating down the trail. I scrape my skis before I add a new coat, especially if I'm going to be switching from one temperature to another. And just to say, like, the colder wax is a little harder to scrape off. So yeah, you definitely want to like clean that off before you get to a little bit of warmer wax. And also the final moment. So now we're back to brushing again. So we're going to do this again. I do it about 10 times, and that's just opening up those pores again. This is basically what's going to make your ski killer fast. So I'm going to brush a bunch of times. Then I'm going to scrape again, and then I'll come back and show you how we use that. I scrape the front of my ski so you can see it's nice and shiny and fast, versus if you look at the back of my ski, you can see I've scraped it, but I haven't yet brushed it. Sorry, I meant to say I brushed the front of my ski with the metal, and then I scraped it and made sure I couldn't get any more wax off. Now I'm just gonna basically burnish it and make it really fast. And that's where you're just going to run that synthetic part of your brush about 10 times over your ski. I haven't done it 10 times, but I was also just going to say one more note about ski care. When you're done, always tie your ski togethers. Don't just spend all this time waxing your skis and then just sling them in the back of your car or lean them up against a wall. You've just spent all this time making yourself a really nice, fast ski base. And the last thing you want to do is scratch up your skis. You don't want to get a lot of dirt and residue in there. So whenever you're transporting your skis, always tie them together with something like this. And just take care when you're, putting them in and out of your car. So I basically have a rule of thumb, like, unless my skis are on, they're apart, but if they're off, they're tied. I'm never going to let them just float around. Just again, you've invested all this time, you might as well take good care of them. So hopefully this was helpful, and have fun skiing out there.